Hello and welcome to my suited opinion. I'm Simon and welcome to the first ever episode of Evil Business. Today we'll have a look at one of the world's most controversial companies, Glencore. Whether you've heard of them or you haven't, you do probably own something Glencore had to do with. After all, they're one of the world's biggest mining and commodity trading companies. So, let's get started. So, we're going to have 3 chapters. First of all, we're going to have a really short look at the history of Glencore. Then, we're going to have a look at some criticism and legal problems. There are human rights violations involved. And then, the conclusion, are they evil? Are they as evil as everyone says they are? Yeah. That's it, and I'm gonna put timestamps down in the description if you for some reason want to skip a chapter. Don't ask me why. I hope you don't. Glencore, while being based in Switzerland, has Belgian origins. The company that we now know as Glencore was founded by the Belgian philanthropist and businessman Mark Rich, and is a direct successor to his Mark Rich and Company. Rich himself wasn't without his controversies either. In 1983, he and his business partner, Pincus Green, were indicted for 65 criminal offences that included wire fraud, racketeering, tax evasion, as well as trading with Iran while they were embargoed by the US, and some Iranian revolutionaries were holding American citizens hostage. Long story short, after fleeing the US and being on the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives list, he did his best to stay away from American authorities, not even attending his daughter's funeral. In the end, he was pardoned by President Bill Clinton mere hours before he left office. There were rumors that the pardon had been bought, with over $1 million being donated to Hillary Clinton's Senate campaign and to the Clinton Library Foundation, though nothing has been proven. But I am digressing here. Today's Glencore originally wasn't called Glencore. As I've mentioned before, Glencore is the successor to Mark Rich and Company, and that was the name under which Glencore was founded in 1974. Then, as well as in the present day, the main business of the company is or was commodity trading and mining. Commodity trading pretty much means trading with resources. The following years were pretty uneventful. There were some takeovers of other companies, like the Dutch grain trading company Granaria, which would later become Glencore Agriculture, though nothing out of the ordinary. That was just normal business until Rich tried to take control of the zinc market in 1994. This endeavor miserably failed, and Rich lost over $170 million and was as a result forced to sell his majority share in Mark Rich and Company. After that happened, the company was renamed and rebranded to Glencore, which stands for Global Energy Commodity Resources. Following this rebranding, things only got better, and Glencore was able to continue acquiring companies like Prodeco Coal in Colombia or Mopani in Zambia. Though the first controversies weren't far around the corner, and the first came to light in 2005, though we're going to look at those later. After continuing to expand, maneuvering scandals, and releasing their first sustainability report in 2010, Glencore was admitted to the London and Hong Kong stock exchanges in 2011, being valued at around $60 billion. And in May of that year, the United Arab Emirates state-owned investment fund, ABBA Investment, invested $850 million in Glencore, and after International Petroleum Investment Company wrote off its $392 million investment. ABBA Investment became the new largest shareholder in Glencore. Although ABBA and that petroleum thing are the same thing now, it's awfully complicated and doesn't really matter in the first place. So let's get the history part over with and get to the fun part. Human rights violations. In 2013, Glencore merged with fellow Swiss commodity trading company etc., making Glencore the fourth largest commodity trader in the world. Since then, Glencore has continued to expand and is doing good business, with making around $255 billion of revenue in 2022, and is still based in Zug, Switzerland. Glencore has had its fair share of controversies, so let's head straight into the first. 2005, rogue states. Looking at the others, this is probably the least bad allegation of all of them, but in 2005, Glencore was accused of illegally trading with rogue states, such as South Africa under the apartheid regime, the Soviet Union, Iran, or Saddam Hussein's Iraq. I don't think I have to explain what those nations have done to be labelled as rogue. It was further alleged that Glencore has a history of busting UN embargoes to profit from corrupt or despotic regimes. The CIA has found that Glencore paid over $3.2 million in briberies to get their hands on oil in UN Oil for Food program for Iraq. This was a program that allowed Iraq to sell its oil in exchange for food, medicine, and other such things for the Iraqi citizens without enabling Iraq to increase its military capabilities. Even though the facts do look pretty damning, Glencore has denied all of the allegations. The first human rights violations came in 2006 in Colombia, when the Swiss television channel TSR alleged corruption and severe human rights violations in one of Glencore's Colombian mining subsidiaries, naming Caracan. I'm gonna call it Caracan, I don't know how to say it properly. According to TSR, the president of the local union accused Caracan of illegally expropriating and evacuating entire villages in order to expand their mine. This apparently happened with the help of Colombian authorities. A representative of the local Wayuu Indians also alleged that Colombian military units forcibly removed them from their land. As if that wasn't enough, a BBC investigation in 2012 showed that Glencore paid paramilitary killers to steal land and sell it to Glencore subsidiary Prodeco, so they could open the coastal mine. After hearing this from a former paramilitary, a Colombian judge concluded that the mine was a reason for massacre. Glencore naturally disputes this ruling. Speaking of Prodeco, in 2009, Prodeco was fined $700,000 for environmental violations, including disposing waste without a permit and producing coal without the mandatory environmental plan. They do really care about the environment, don't they? And before that, Prodeco was investigated by the Dutch non-government organization Pax for Peace. They concluded that the residents of the Caesar mining region, also in Colombia, suffered from paramilitary violence from 1996 to 2006. Prodeco apparently greatly supported paramilitary forces with money, equipment, and information. Of course, all involvement was denied by Glencore and Prodeco, though people are apparently still being threatened. Since the Pax for Peace report, coal produced by Prodeco is termed blood coal. Shit continued in Zambia. In 2011, when 5 non-government organizations filed a complaint to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD in short. The OECD is an intergovernmental organization with the goal of addressing common problems and identify good practices in the free market. It has 38 member states and is an official UN observer. Anyways, those 5 NGOs complained that a subsidiary of Glencore, Mopani, we've heard of them before, didn't pay enough taxes. Mopani is based in Zambia and owns mines there. As a result, Grant Thornton International, a British accounting and consulting company, drafted a report in which it is alleged that tax avoidance by Glencore in Zambia cost the Zambian government hundreds of millions of dollars. Allegedly, Glencore managed to avoid Zambian taxes through transfer pricing and inflate the cost at Mopani, which is controlled through the British Virgin Islands, a tax haven. Even though Glencore and its financial advisor denied those allegations, tax payments to Zambia have increased since 2013. Why could that be? That doesn't sound too bad, but we're just getting started. According to a Reuters article, Zambian officials believe that the Mopani mine is causing acid rain and other health risks for over 5 million people. After the article, modifications and upgrades were made to the Mopani mine in 2014, reducing emissions to meet World Health Organization standards. WHO, probably since Corona everyone's heard of them before. And one last thing about Zambia. In 2019, Swiss Federal Councillor Ignacio Casas and the delegation of the Swiss Department of Foreign Affairs visited the Mopani mines. This was heavily criticized by Amnesty International and other NGOs. I can already see there's going to be a long video. Now, let's take a look at the Democratic Republic of the Congo. There, Glencore uses acid to extract copper in its mines in the Luilu province. So far so normal, though Glencore allowed that acid to flow into nearby rivers 3 years after they took over the mine. The then CEO of Glencore, Ivan Glasenberg, said while being interviewed that the pollution began a long time before Glencore took over the mine, and it wouldn't have been possible to stop the pollution any faster than they did. The pollution of the river has now ended. But it doesn't stop there. A reporter for The Guardian found children as young as 10 working in an underground mine that Glencore had reported to be closed. According to Glasenberg, Glencore does not profit from child labour, and the children were artisanal miners that the company is trying to prevent. While he said that, BBC tracked shipments from the mine to a Glencore smelter in Zambia. Well, who do we believe? The BBC or that random Glasenberg? In addition to all of that, Glencore was accused of trading with conflict minerals. Now, minerals that were involved in conflicts between various rebels and armies in the DRC, trading with them is illegal. And as always, Glencore denied any wrongdoing. And there's also corruption involved, allegedly. In 2010, the Congolese government sold the Kansuki mine in secret and far too cheap to the Israeli mining magnate Dan Gertler, a close friend of then President Joseph Kabila. In August of 2010, Glencore took over half the shares that Gertler had purchased and is now the operator of the mine. There are further connections between Gertler and Glencore and include other mines and other companies and sound similarly corrupt, but I won't go into detail on them. We don't have that amount of time. So, now going from human rights violations back to something a little bit more normal-ish. In 2013, a Glencore subsidiary was awarded offshore drilling licenses off the disputed territory of Western Sahara. Well, sadly, those licenses were in clear violation of international law as described by the UN in 2002. Great. Now, if you thought, how can they do that and never be properly sued? Now it gets legal. In 2018, the US Department of Justice subpoenaed Glencore for documents relating to their business in Nigeria, the Congo, as well as Venezuela. In May 2022, Glencore pleaded guilty to multiple counts of bribery and had to pay penalties of around $1.5 billion. Oh wait, in 2018, American paid TV channel Bloomberg reported that the UK Serious Fraud Office was considering opening an investigation into Glencore's dealings with Gertner and DRC President Kabila as a result of the investigation by the US Justice Department. We'll take a look at that investigation in a minute. Are you ready for another lawsuit? I certainly am. This time, the NGO International Rights Advocates, who are fighting to end slave and child labor, sued Apple, Microsoft, Dell, and Tesla, alleging that those companies profited from child labor in Glencore-owned mines. Glencore, who would have thought, denied the use of child labor, and the case was dismissed in 2022. Do you love investigations? Certainly, the US Commodities Futures Trading Commission loves them because they launched one into Glencore's dealings with foreign governments in 2019, alleging that those dealings were corrupt and in violation of the Commodity Exchange Act. Even though always in denial, Glencore did plead guilty to charges of corruption and had to pay $1.8 billion. According to the CFTC, the corruption occurred from 2007 to 2018 and included payments and bribes to officials of various governments and attempts to conceal them. So, now, I swear, the last investigation for today, the aforementioned Serious Fraud Office investigation. It appears that pleading guilty is becoming quite a habit for Glencore, since two British Glencore subsidiaries did plead guilty to charges of corruption. Those charges alleged that Glencore paid over $53 million to African officials to secure access to oil. While Glencore management has acknowledged that briberies and corruption were a thing, they claim that Glencore is making efforts to improve ethics in the company and prevent similar events. I haven't found how high the fines are in the Serious Fraud Office case, but Glencore did put aside $1.5 billion in 2021 if they get investigated for some reason. I wouldn't know why. That's everything for now, investigation-wise, though Glencore will probably face more charges, due to the fact that the Attorney General of Switzerland and the Dutch Public Prosecution Office are both currently investigating Glencore. Now, the conclusion. Are Glencore evil? Is Glencore evil? And I don't think there can be much debate if Glencore could be considered evil. After making this video, I certainly do think so. I'm surprised that they still exist and still making profits after everything that happened. I mean, I went into this video thinking, yeah, they do some bad stuff, maybe a little bit of tax fraud there, but Jesus Christ, hiring paramilitary killers to steal land, and what do we have? Acid rain, child labor, for heaven's sake, Jesus. Well, that's it from me. Leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you want to. I would